I don't see my role as director to be like Steven Spielberg sat on a big chair with a big, speaker thing. I see it as like, okay, what do I need to do to enable you to do your best job? I think for me it was then about building a team, and that team came relatively easy to me as well. I knew what sort of people that I wanted in the space. I know people say you shouldn't work with friends, but actually I really enjoyed working and building more friendships through the communities we've got at downtown, because we've got an established team, so we just carried on with some of that work. And they've been incredible. I think there's a beautiful intersection when you work with people for the first time. So like working with Luke Brown, our movement director, has been really beautiful, and working with Courtney, our producer, and Tom, who's our kind of consultant and dramaturg on it, has been the best process for me creatively, because I'm all about that level of collaboration. It's really important to me to have other voices in that. So, when writing particular moments of the show, like Ghost Town, Courtney was instrumental in being able to kind of offer an insight that other people couldn't offer in that experience, to kind of look at it from an objective perspective, to go, what is the experience of a queer person of colour right now looking at this work, and shaping that. So I'm super grateful for that part of it. And then working with Luke has been amazing, because at one point we didn't have any movement artists. It was just going to be our performers. And now that feels ridiculous that we wouldn't have had any movement artists. So that revolutionary for me to think about that element of the show, and thinking about how movement artists work is completely different to how we work in cabaret. So bringing those two worlds together has been absolutely wild, because they're two very different, but actually communally they've got on really well, and it works super beautifully. So all of my favourite pieces of the show, all of my favourite pieces of the puzzles are not stuff that I've come up with by myself. It's through that and having people come in and grab that and say, I see this for it. That part of the process has just been beautiful. So for me, it was like saying, let's bring all those things together. And a lot of the artists, the cabaret artists that we've used, have never done anything like this before. So I know that they can do these things, but they've never done it. So it's a beautiful idea of being like, well, you can exist in the theatre, like you are a legitimate artist, and sometimes cabaret artists don't feel that. And working with movement artists, like I said, are completely different to cabaret artists, but it feels quite lovely intersection.
The art forms in it, we have sort of high level choreography, really contemporary movement, mixed in with these verbatim stories, and then some beautiful monologues written by Josh. So it kind of feels like a mishmash of everything, but when you layer it all together with drag as well, it just merges into some beautiful cocktail performance. Our most important thing is that we want people to have a stake in the projects they're involved in, even if they're paid staff. So we tried to use this whole process to work together and have elements that people enjoy in it. With Luke in particular, the whole movement has been his design, just off points that we've given. It's very much a creative and collaborative process with everyone involved.
Being a part of this collaborative team has truly been wonderful. I think I have to start by saying that being in a inclusive, caring, loving, queer-led space has been just the most unbelievable experience for me. This is the first time that I have been involved in a process where queer support has been the absolute cornerstone of everything that is discussed, done, talked about, checked in with in a rehearsal space. And first and foremost, that has been absolutely wonderful. The key for me has been discussion, talking, throwing out ideas, and being absolutely open to them flying or falling flat on their face. And I think that has truly been the foundation of this process. It was a really great thing to bring so many different worlds together. I brought my wonderful movement team into this process and met them with the drag scene, cabaret scene, and the theatre performance art scene, shall we say, and trying to find a language that married between all of us. And it's happened so organically. And I think the reason that's happened is because everyone has been so open and up for the challenge. So yeah, it's just been an absolute wonderful process to be involved with.
I'd say the creative process has been really collaborative, and when the movement team have needed time to sort their stuff out. Like we've had that time, but then also like we've been able to like inject ideas into like the overall show as well. So, and then vice versa, the other artists have been getting involved with the movement.
I think the process has been quite different for us because normally in like the work that we're traditionally making, we have like quite a long time to make something.
Yeah, it has been very quick.
And like, so you might spend like a day on a task, just making like one thing, and like
That
in
might
a
be
day,
like 5 minutes, whereas
Yeah.
we've had to do
we're like
half
plotting
an
like
hour.
3 numbers in a day, and we're like, great, out of the way. And then like you get to come back and put layers on, which has been
Yeah.
really nice. But having that time when we need to do the choreography, and then Josh kind of leading us through that blocking, being like, okay, this bit fits here, this bit fits here, and like that kind of figuring that out has been really interesting to see how like another art form like works in a process and how we can then contribute to that.
I think because everyone in the show has a really good mindset around how we want to be in this space. And I think that was not by accident. I don't think that was by chance. I think that was very much cultivated and crafted by Josh, Courtney, Andrea, the care team, everyone. We all walked into this space of being like, we're all a little bit uncomfortable. We're all stepping out of our comfort zone, and we're all here to support and hold each other and like give each other the space to learn. And I think that allowed all of us to come into it being uncomfortable and going with it anyways, and leaning into the uncomfortableness and finding growth and finding change and finding that collaborative space together. Failure is very much, it's okay, we're gonna try it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, we'll find a new way to do it. The notes that we get from the team as well after we do a run, I really appreciate how much everybody, but I'm gonna say Luke in particular, gives specific compliments. Like everyone's always careful to make sure they give the good and the bad, because if you only tell us what we're doing wrong, we never know what to work towards. So giving us stuff to work towards is also incredibly valuable for creating this wonderful collaborative environment. But Luke in particular always gives the best compliments. It'll be like, at this moment, you did this, which had this effect, and all of this was amazing. And I'm so grateful for them for that.
So for me, it's really alien because I'm so used to working on my own. And like, even though I work on my own, when I do like my one-woman show, I've almost, I've had a director on that's worked with me, but it's almost like their feedback, my decision. Whereas this, being collaborative, was a really beautiful way to work. And I think, like you say, where there's lots of different types of genre of theatre performance in the show, and it kind of dips in between like this contemporary world to this cabaret world, then it moves into like this performance art world, and it's just a collaboration of all that smushing together. And it's odd how beautiful that is and how gorgeous it looks and the way it's come together.
I think I've really enjoyed this whole collaborative process. I think there's so many like different unique art forms, because I think a lot of us come from different backgrounds, like drag, burlesque, like cabaret, dance. And I think this team together has just been like such a really interesting and collaborative unit, which I think has been really complementary, to be honest, because I think ultimately we all can connect in some way or another to like the piece and like the personal trajectories and the struggles within the piece. So finding not only the nuances that we can bring as individuals, but the way that like we can help one another. I think that's probably been like the most wonderful part about it, actually. It's not only the work we've gotten to create as individuals, but ultimately the process and like the work we've gotten to create together. And I think the piece really stands out.
I think for me, what the most important bit is building those relationships, because the functioning of the team, it's a cog. I see this whole show as like cogs turning. Everyone's got to be in sync with each other. So building those relationships is the most important things, and understanding what those two forms look like. So there was certain points in rehearsals where for each sort of like warm up, one of the cabaret artists or dancers would do a workshop based on their expertise. So Tayris Mongardi has like experience in voguing, so did a voguing workshop with everyone. Azil Thang is also a kind of a professional Lindy Hop dancer, so we did some Lindy Hop. Luke, the movement director, led a lot of our spaces to build some of those relationships. So actually, there's a lot of like exchanging languages with people in those process to be able to create those connections. And that was really interesting actually, because the movement artists are used to kind of either, you know, doing something very absent of character, or, you know, doing a sequence which the focus wasn't on that. But actually the focus in this show is all about character. So they can learn from some of the cabaret artists to big that bit up. But I think what the cabaret artists have seen is the kind of real precision of movement, you know, whereas cabaret artists were used to being kind of slap it on and go. The precision of the movement artists has kind of tidied it up a bit. So that fusion has led to what this is, I think. I think this is the example of what that looks like, and it's been magic, all of that process. And like I said, building relationships is just so important.